Everyone, welcome to the first KUB board meeting of 2025. We'll call this meeting to order, and with that, I will ask Mr. Coley to please call the roll.
Commissioner Caballero. Commissioner Feinbaum.
Here.
Commissioner Gibson.
Here.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Here.
Commissioner Herbert.
Here.
Commissioner Nichols.
Here.
And I understand Commissioner Pickett will not be here today.
If not. Thank you, Mr. Coley. The minutes from the December board meeting were sent to us for review. If there are no corrections, we need a motion and a second to approve the minutes.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The minutes have been approved. We next have an official action, which is, I'm happy to say, the oath of office of Phyllis Nichols as the newest board member to KUB. Commissioners, the mayor is appointed and City Council has confirmed the appointment of Phyllis Nichols for a 7-year term to the KUB Commissioners Board. I know I speak for all of us when I say how pleased we are to have Phyllis join the board. I would like to recognize Bill Coley, who will administer the oath of office.
You need to stand beside her and hold the Bible for her. And then if you're, no, you're fine, I think. Raise your right hand and then repeat after me, please. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I possess the qualifications required by law
that I possess the qualifications required by law
for the office of KUB Commissioner,
for the office of KUB Commissioner,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Tennessee,
the Constitution of the State of Tennessee,
and the Charter of the City of Knoxville,
and the Charter of the City of Knoxville,
and the bylaws of KUB,
and the bylaws of KUB,
that I do not have any contracts
that I do not have any contracts
or business interests with KUB
or business interests with KUB
that constitute a conflict of interest,
that constitute a conflict of interest,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
and perform with fidelity to the duties of Commissioner
the duties of Commissioner
without fear or favor,
without fear or favor,
to the extent of my skill and ability.
to the extent of my skill and ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations,
Thank
Commissioner.
you.
Thank you.
Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you.
Commissioners, the charter requires the board to elect officers each year following a new commissioner election. I would like to recognize Bill Coley to conduct the election.
Commissioners, last month the nominating committee nominated a slate of officers for your consideration, and you'll recall that the slate includes Cynthia Gibson as chair, Claudia Caballero as vice chair, and Mark Walker as secretary. Are there other nominations? Hearing none, is there a motion and a second to elect the slate selected by the nominating committee?
So moved. Second.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, congratulations, officers, and Mr. Walker as secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Coley, and welcome, Phyllis. We're very happy to have you on the board with us. Now I'd like to recognize Gaze to discuss Resolution 1503.
Yes, Commissioners, I've asked Daniel Kimball, Manager of our Procurement, to present to you the consideration for Resolution 1503, which is the transfer of assets requiring your approval to the University of Tennessee. Daniel.
Thanks, Gabe. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Excited to come talk to you today. Pretty straightforward resolution 1503. KUB's got some electric lighting facilities on the University of Tennessee campus. The university would like to take ownership of those facilities. We're not opposed to that. It's good for us. That situation is, so we'll hit the slides here. We own facilities. There's actually 11 poles that the University of Tennessee owns that are University of Tennessee poles on Andy Holt Drive. There are street lighting facilities on those poles, which we own, which we will be transferring to them so that they can have ownership of those facilities. There are 9 poles along Francis as well as Melrose. On 9 of those poles, we've got street lighting or light watchman facilities as well that light up the streets. Or on 8 of those 9 poles, we have light watchman facilities, and 1 is just we've got a pole there that's got the wires attached to it. UT wishes to take ownership of them, as I've mentioned, and we would sell those facilities for net book value, original cost that we paid for them minus the depreciation, and that's $19,000 and change. I've got a map here that illustrates it a little bit better. Fun fact, I'm somewhat colorblind, so I can't tell you exactly the color of those circles, but I believe they're purple. And the ones along Andy Holt here, down at the bottom, that come up through here, those poles there, those are the ones that the University of Tennessee owns, and we just have lighting facilities on the poles. So we're only transferring those lighting facilities. When you come up Francis Street and along Melrose, which would take you going towards Hess Hall, if you're familiar with where that is, those facilities, the purple circles that are filled in, those are poles with lights on them that we would transfer. And then at the corner, if I can accurately show it right there, the triangle, that's the 1 pole that we've got that we would just be transferring. So in total, we're looking at 9 poles, roughly 19 light watchmen or street lights that we would be transferring to the city. And then they would provide service and power through their own distribution system. Any questions about that? So this resolution 1503 finds that they're no longer necessary. It's in the best interest of KUB as well as the University of Tennessee for them to take ownership of these. With your approval of resolution 1503, we would enter into an agreement to transfer the assets to the university. And so with that, any proceeds, which would be the $19,000 and change, would go into the electric system.
Thank you. Any questions? Is there a motion and a second to approve Resolution 1503 on first and final reading?
Motion to approve?
Are there any members of the public who would like to address the board on this resolution? Mr. Coley, would you please call the roll for the vote on Resolution 1503 on first and final reading?
Commissioner Caballero. Aye. Commissioner Feinbaum. Aye. Commissioner Gibson. Aye. Commissioner Hamilton.
Aye.
Commissioner Herbert.
Aye.
Commissioner Nichols. Resolution 1503 has passed on first and final reading.
Thank you, Mr. Coley. Now I'd like to recognize Gabe for the President's report.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioners, Taylor Crosby, I won't think for a minute. Taylor Crosby, our business analyst and our executive services, is here to do our annual conflict of interest and disclosures process for the board. I'll have to report that all of our employees at KUB have fully done their paperwork and were submitted at the end of the last of the calendar year. So we are good on our side, but this is our annual disclosure for you all to read and sign off on and follow. He'll also cover as part of his presentation our annual update on the Tennessee Open Records and Open Meetings rules and sunshine laws. So he'll do that for you also. But thank you, Taylor.
Thank you, Gabe. Good afternoon, Commissioners. As Gabe mentioned, this is just our annual review of our annual disclosures and our ethics policies. Just to give you a quick overview of and the background of our ethics policies. As Commissioners, as you all know, you have agreed to follow the rules and regulations from our bylaws, our resolutions, state law, as well as the city charter. Before the year 2000, that is where all of our ethics policies came from. Resolution 1 was actually formed by this board back in 1939. So first resolution, and it just shows how important ethics are here at KUB. In 2000, conflict of interest was added to our bylaws. In 2005, the employee conflict of interest policy and the required annual disclosure from our employees was enacted in 2005, which Gabe just mentioned we are in full compliance of. We do that at the end of the calendar year for our employees. In 2006, the state established the Ethics Commission, and you'll notice in 2007, the board adopted an ethics policy. A lot of municipalities did that after the Ethics Commission was formed by the state. In 2012, we did an ethics section update in our bylaws, and in 2013, the annual disclosure requirement was adopted. That is what you all abide by as commissioners. Some components of our ethics policy. Our ethics policy assists employees in avoiding any real or perceived conflicts. So that is the entire basis of what we use our ethics policy for. It aligns with our governing statutes and our guidelines. And it certifies compliance with these are just some examples of the ethical standards: political activity, nepotism, gifts and gratuities, personal financial interests, as well as the improper use of position or authority here at KUB or any of time, facilities, or equipment. If there is a conflict, we do require that there is a disclosure. In your portfolios, I saw some of you filling them out when you first came in here. You'll see your annual disclosure form. That happens every January. We just ask that is returned by the end of January. Also in your portfolios is your training requirement. It is a yearly requirement from the state of Tennessee that shows that our board goes through continuous training. All of you are in compliance with that because of the information you receive at our board meetings. So that is just something else for you to sign in your portfolios. As Gabe mentioned, I'll give you a little bit of an overview of our Tennessee Open Meetings Act as well as our Open Records Act for the state. Our Open Meetings Act applies to any public body with authority to make decisions or recommendations to a public body. That is, of course, we fall under that. It requires public notice, which we do give public notice for all of our meetings and committee meetings as well. Minutes are recorded and open to the public. All decisions or deliberations toward decision are in an open meeting and open discussion, and all of our votes are public. So we are in full compliance with the Open Meetings Act. This also applies to your lunch meetings as well as committee meetings, also electronic meetings if that were to happen. For the Public Records Act, that applies to all of our records. It's regardless of their physical form or their characteristics: documents, papers, maps, electronic communications. We abide by that. We actually have a policy that was established, a Resolution 1358, that established our public records policy, which is available on our website, kub.org. It also gives the ability for people to make a public records request on our website. Again, this is just some of the provisions that were included on there. As I mentioned, policy is available on our website, and the process is here at KUB of how we respond to those requests. I went through that pretty quickly, as many of you have gone through this before, but are there any questions? Or I could direct you to Mr. Coley if there are any legal questions regarding that. All right, thank you very much, Gabe.
Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you, Taylor, very much. Commissioners, one of our top priorities this year and for the last 3 years has been our fiber deployment. Not only is it going to make our electric system much stronger when we get it fully deployed, but it's also allowing us to offer the high-speed internet service to our customers. I've asked Jamie Davis, our Senior Vice President and Chief Operating or Technology Officer, to give you an update on the progress of the fiber this quarter. Thank you, Jamie. I changed your title too.
That's right, great. Yeah, I got a promotion today, maybe. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Good to see you. Happy New Year. Glad we're spending time together to talk about fiber. Really just wanted to go over where we finished our second quarter this past fiscal year. So we met together last time and looked at some data on first quarter. Want to revisit second quarter, especially now that we're halfway through the fiscal year. So want to touch on our construction of the network along with our growth in sales. So starting with construction, this was going to be a big year for fiber. If you recall, kind of the size of this build for this year was about 1,400 miles. We've installed about 227 miles this particular quarter, fiscal year to date about 587 miles. That mileage, along with construction and splicing and provisioning of the network, have allowed us to make service available to over 31,000 additional customers since we started this fiscal year. Our goal was 65,000 additional. So you can see we're just a little under halfway at the halfway point. And so we believe those goals are still in range. It was, again, a big build, and as you can imagine with everything construction related, we'll need breaks to go our way in order to hit our goal, but we think we can achieve that, and if not, it'll be right there around the fiscal year ending when we do cross that finish line to hopefully end it 115,000 customers available by the end of this fiscal year. On the map there, you'll see kind of what we've done already to date and available now in the green, and then in the blue, at least all the way through calendar year 25. But right at the end of the fiscal year, some big adds to help us meet that goal are towards the center of city there, around our Knox substation. Think Millertown Pike all the way down to Holston Hills. We hope to light that area in a meaningful way by the midpoint there in the summer. Also, deep south, Shooks Gap, out of our Shooks Gap substation, will be an area down in the South Knoxville area, Seymour area, and then corresponding areas will follow as we step into next fiscal year. So again, progress continues well. We don't see any reason why we won't meet those goals. And then here real soon will be an area finishing up all the last little pieces. Gabe knows the circuit well out of the Luttrell substation up there. You can kind of see that blue piece on the upper northeast there. That'll finish up Granger and Union County in its entirety. So kind of delivering on that promise to serve those rural areas with fiber service. Any questions on construction or any questions you may have there? All right. So as far as growth goes, all that good construction hopefully leads to new customers, and it's been another good growth quarter in the second quarter. We exceeded our sales goals again by adding almost 2,900 residential customers, exceeding our goal by 500, and we're very pleased with that. Business sales also exceeded its goals for the quarter by adding almost 200 customers. If we take a kind of a pulse, at the end of the quarter, we had about 16,000 customers. We sit today just over 17,000 customers, so we continue to grow. Residential's a little ahead of its goal for the fiscal year, and business is just barely behind in it, so we feel good about where it's at. Pictures there, you'll see some recent installations there on the right with snow on the grounds in Sequoia Hills, so kind of a real current picture. And on the left there, we recently installed the police and fire stations up in Maynardville, so they were happy to get our service. So again, customers very happy with our service. We're experiencing very low churn, less than 1% still continued in that space, so we're very pleased with that. If we kind of take a look then, as we turn the corner, heading home towards the end of the fiscal year at the halfway point, we're projecting that we will end the year ahead of our budgeted amount on the residential side. We think that with the second quarter, we're approximately 1,000 customers ahead of our original estimate year to date, and we think we'll end the year just approximately 1,600 customers ahead of our budgetary goals. So that's a good thing. That's a turn, obviously, in our sales forecast and kind of where we're headed. And obviously, we hope that trend continues and gets even bigger as the year goes on. So that's good news in that space. So we anticipate ending the fiscal year with around 21,000 residential customers. So any questions on that projection? Very good. Two other key points of our build out that I really kind of want to just touch on, kind of interesting points and of importance. One's our Connected program. I know this board's very supportive of our efforts in that space. It's been a really good quarter for it as well. We've added 34 new households into this program. And as a reminder, this is our program that gives gig internet plus our smart gig home Wi-Fi service to children in the school system who meet income requirements. We appreciate the support of the city of Knoxville and Knox County as they continue to help us grow this program. And this quarter, we really specific and very targeted marketing efforts. The billboard that you see on the right, you may have seen a couple of those as you drive around town. We took an opportunity with our marketing efforts to really highlight general awareness about our Connected program, along with very targeted emails and reach out to those folks who are indeed eligible. And I think that's helped lead to the growth. And as we continue to work with the school system and the Chamber's Enox Task Force effort, we know that will continue to grow that program. So we hope it's on the precipice of really kind of jump starting in that space well too, and helping those kids that need the internet service. Just as kind of an aside, as we continue to serve our customers in the facing changes of conditions like weather, that's a little bit of a new ground. We're used to that on the other utility sides, but for fiber, that's a little bit of a brave new world. And so I thought I would just take an opportunity kind of in real time as there's still snow on the ground outside that hadn't melted to talk to you kind of what happened last week in fiber. And much like the other divisions, we've begun those processes that when we see weather coming our way, we start to make changes and adjust our schedules and how we work. And one of the things we did was we got an opportunity to practice again last week is we knew the snow, once we knew the snow was likely to occur, we really started shifting our priority to saying, okay, what is it that we need to do? What is it that we need to do while the sun's still out, snow's on the ground? And so what we did was we prioritized trouble tickets from Friday and Saturday that were scheduled and tried to see if we could move those forward to Blue Sky Day there on Thursday and then Friday morning before the snow. So we reached out to those customers who were either having trouble with their internet, who were existing customers, or had no internet at all, and said, we know you want to want your internet during, being cooped up in your cabin there. So we reached out to those folks, got those folks taken care of, and then we tried to maximize the daylight pretty hours then as far as on Friday morning to install folks as many as we could, but we then suspended installations for Friday afternoon and then those Saturday afternoon appointments. We had then, much like what we do with our other utility systems, we continue to monitor conditions, really balancing that opportunity to get back out and get to installations, but doing so safely given the road conditions and the weather. And so as we met over the weekend discussing this, realized that the weather was going to thaw a little bit, road conditions were going to improve, and so our decision was, let's move those, let's cancel Monday morning appointments, but keep the Monday afternoon appointments. And so we did installations on Monday afternoon, and you can see one of the pictures there was still snow on the ground, but we were able to do so safely out in the snow. Then we shift to be sure we're taking care of those customers where we had to cancel appointments due to the weather and kind of filter those through our work week, not only meeting the demands, as you can see, we're growing customers, so schedules are still pretty full, but being sure that we don't not meet the needs of those who had already scheduled with us on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So kind of filtering them back through and kind of maintaining productivity. So as weather comes through, there's a ripple effect that's a little bit different than maybe some of our other divisions, but nonetheless getting an opportunity to kind of give you all some insight into kind of some of the activities that went along in the fiber division during those events. Other interesting point as I finish is, it might not have been the coldest storm, so we didn't hit a new electric or gas peak, but we did hit a new peak in the fiber division. As people were home and streaming and taking advantage of our system, we shattered our previous peak of 83 gigabytes. That's kind of just the volume that was going through our pipe at that point in time, and hit a new peak of 103 gigs. So again, not important to anybody but us, but kind of nerding out that over in the IT space. But at the end of the day, was a new milestone for us, and we're all happy to meet folks' needs, especially when cooped up during snow. We know internet's important, so we were pleased with that. But be glad to answer any questions around fiber and anything else that may be piquing your all's interest right now.
Jamie, thank you for the update. First, I want to commend you on the 99% retention rate. We've had a lot of discussions over since fiber was launched on that first year and the critical element of people deciding they don't want it. And I know that's not an easy thing, and really retention rate is oftentimes driven not as much by price, but as service. And that, I think that shows a lot. And then just to thank you and to thank the entire fiber team. I think the customer service separates us from our competition. And I think being locally homegrown right here in Knoxville, separates us from the competition. I find it hard to believe, and I've lived in the space for a good part of my career, I find it hard to believe some of our larger competitors would call their clients on the phone and try to shuffle their appointments a little bit earlier before the snow hits, or to fix their problems before the snow hits. So, I commend you and the team for even having that foresight, doing it, and then going out and making it happen, and doing it safely, because that's important as well. So congratulations to you and the
Thank you
team
so
on the
much.
continued success and the continued growth, and I'm sure 2026 will continue that trajectory.
We sure hope so, and I'll thank you, and I will definitely pass along the thanks to the team. They're obviously the ones that deserve the credit. Wrong. I thought we were friends. That's right.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo what Ron said, and not to repeat his remarks, but just to add that the importance of fiber to rural areas. I grew up in a rural community that was very isolated, and I know this is really important. And then the Connect Ed program is also really important for kids who don't have access at home, because so much of schoolwork is moving online. So I commend you for both of those as well, and thank you for leading the team through that. Are there any other questions?
I'll just add on to the end of that. As you know, the weather's been, last week was crazy. Next Monday, Tuesday, it's going to be really, really cold. So we're going to be back into preparation mode come tomorrow, this weekend, to get ready for Mondays and Tuesdays, single digit maybe temperatures. So capacity wise, we're great. But when it's that cold, you just, worry about water main breaks, people's homes freezing up with the water in their homes, stuff like that. So we're going to get our normal protocol ready for that. So we're as ready as we can be, and we always are. We'll be run to the problem, and it happens. Hopefully nothing occurs. It was really quiet last week, but you never know next week what the weather brings us. So preparation has already begun on that area. So I want to also introduce Matt White. He's our lead in our budget team. He's here to give you an update on some of the work we've done around grants. For many years, we weren't getting grants because we weren't eligible or it wasn't out there, but the last 3 years have been phenomenal, and he's been a big part of helping us get those grants. So we asked him to do a presentation on all the things we received through different funding sources for our programs. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Gabe. Commissioners, good afternoon. I am excited to get to report to you on all the work we've been doing in the grant funding area. Got lots of good news I can share. I know it won't all be breaking news to you because you have heard about some of these awards that we've gotten. But today I'll get the chance to just tell you more of some of these stories about how we've made grants a part of KUB's financial strategy. So let's start there, just looking at this graphic, which illustrates the different components of our financial strategy and the levers that we have to pull to be able to fund our operations. Of course, it starts at the top with the rates that our customers pay. It's always going to be our primary source of funding. But of course, you can look over to the right there. Customer growth is another component of that. When we can grow, add new customers to our system, or our existing customers increase their usage, that helps. We're also going to balance those funding strategies with debt, issuing our bonds to fund some of our capital projects, and then we're always working to manage our costs. So if you would have looked at this chart about 3 years ago, it would have just been those 4 components on the chart. But in recent years, we've been very diligent about focusing on grants, adding grants as a 5th component. And to the extent that we can find good fits to leverage grants as a funding source, it really helps to relieve pressure on the other 4 components. So what changed in the last 3 years, right, to make us focus on grants now? It was really 3 key pieces of legislation, and they all passed in 2021 and 2022. It was the American Rescue Plan, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, and the Inflation Response Plan. So all 3 of these created a variety of new funding programs. A lot of those focus on infrastructure and environmental sustainability that caught our attention. There's tons of acronyms, the most acronyms I've probably ever seen in my life with these grant. The laws, of course, have their acronyms, but each grant program has an acronym. Each grant program is managed by a new organization with a new acronym. So we had to figure out a way to sort through all that and make sense out of all this new information. So we decided to stand up KUB's first ever grants team, and we formed it. We have 12 people on the team. We have senior leadership represented. We have someone with technical expertise from all 5 utility divisions on the team. And then we have supporting expertise like government relations, environmental sustainability, and accounting also contributing to the team. So every one of these programs, they all have strings attached. They all have very specific criteria of what they're looking for. And so we were tasked as a grant team of evaluating those, working with the technical expertise throughout the organization to try to understand what's the best fit. And we made a list. We made a list of the ones that weren't good for us, and we documented why. And then we came up with a short list of the ones we wanted to pursue. And then the grants team has been able to serve as a central resource, working alongside whatever technical team is working on the full application. And then we're able to provide some of that shared knowledge base that builds as a central knowledge base, and some additional work we did on creating some central documentation so that we can continue to build that and leverage that knowledge for all these programs that we're looking at. So here is the total result of the work that we've done so far to date. We've secured $52.4 million in awards, in funding awards. And what you don't see on this list is that represents $252 million of applications that we've worked on. So each one of those is a significant commitment of time and effort, and it's a result of a collaboration of lots and lots of people at KUB, not just the grants team by any means. There's a lot of people that work on every single one of those applications, and we learned from each one. If we didn't get the award, we learned from what went wrong, what went well, and kept improving. And so now we're happy to say that we have awards that are benefiting all 5 of our divisions and helping us accomplish a lot of our Century 2 and ESG goals. And the bottom line is that's $52 million that doesn't have to come from our customers now, that we've found a different funding source. So with the rest of my time, I'm going to take you on a little bit of a tour and tell you a little bit more about some of these programs and these projects. Got another snow picture here to share with you. On the left is this is our MBW water filters project. This was from Tuesday of this week. We got $25.1 million from the ARPA stimulus funds for this project. And this is our largest capital project we've ever done. It's a $67 million project. So to get close to 40% of that funded with a grant was huge for us. On the right, of course, Jamie just shared with you about all the progress we're making with fiber. Our $15.3 million grant from the Tennessee Emergency Broadband Fund was a key piece of that. It helped us to get to those rural areas faster, Granger, Jefferson, Sevier, and Union counties. We were able to, those are some of the hardest areas for us to get to. We were able to get there faster with this grant and provide internet, fiber internet for the first time to some of those places. So if you just stop and think about these are two of our biggest cost capital projects, the two biggest that we're doing at KUB. And there was a golden window of opportunity for these grant funding programs, and we were able to secure over $40 million for these two. So we were very happy about that. So this next project, we got $1.3 million from a program called Tennessee Fast Charge Tennessee Network, and it is a joint program funded by the state and TVA. On the left, you see this is in Seymour, Chapman Highway location. We installed some fast chargers there. And then on the right, this is downtown Knoxville, Central Avenue, just down the hill over here behind us. We were able to install 4 fast chargers at each of these locations through this grant program. And it was the first fast chargers in the Seymour area that they've had access to. So next on the left, this was a state water and wastewater infrastructure grant program, a competitive program. We secured $4.75 million for our Walker Springs pump station. So the teams, our water system engineering and plants teams did a great job working on, they built 3 separate full applications for this program for different topics. All of them were strong, and actually our biggest dollar value project, our best project, was selected, and this was a maximum award for this program. So we were very pleased with that. The existing Walker Springs pump station is in a flood zone, so we needed to build a new one, and we're restoring the existing site to be a wetlands area. And this is one of our newer grants. We've got the contract in place, but we'll be starting the project soon. And then over on the right, we also got $5 million recently from a federal gas infrastructure grant program for gas steel pipe replacement. And I'll brag on the gas systems engineering teams that worked on that. They went through 2 rounds of very strong applications and didn't get an award. Continued working really hard to improve on the application each time, to incorporate the feedback that they got into what could make the next round a little better. And then by the 3rd round, here we got this $5 million award. It was a very competitive national field, so it was impressive to be able to get that. And this grant is going to replace our, let me get the right words here, our leak-prone steel pipe, and it's going to replace that faster in our system. And then it's also going to completely remove what's called isolated steel from our system, which is a type of pipe that's particularly prone to corrosion and more expensive to maintain. So this grant's going to help us accomplish both of those goals. This is a new one. We're still working on getting the grant contract in place on this one, and the project will be starting in the next future fiscal years. All right, so the last projects I'll talk about here, and this is shifting gears a little bit. This is our community solar, and this is one of our Ford Lightnings. This funding is a different type of funding source. It's not a grant. It's a new type of funding called elective pay tax credits, something that we were able to be on the leading edge in researching and securing. We got $530,000 for community solar, $15,000 for a couple of the EVs in our fleet. But what this is, it was the Inflation Reduction Act. created this new concept called elective pay. It leverages tax credits that have existed before for for-profit companies to take advantage of. Of course, we're federally tax exempt. We never could get tax credits before, but with the creation of this funding mechanism, now we can access those tax credits. So we were able to do that in-house, put together a federal tax return, build out the audit-proof documentation in our file, just like a for-profit company filed our tax return with the IRS, they reviewed it and processed it, sent us a check, just like getting a tax refund back. Particularly something interesting here I'll mention is we were happy to, in addition to just being able to secure this for our system, we've been able to be advocates to help other municipalities and utilities who might be able to get these tax credits as well. We worked closely with the American Public Power Association to understand elective pay over the last couple of years. It's been this developing new concept. The IRS has been developing the tax regulations for it. So we worked to understand the proposed tax regulations, identified a couple of administrative concerns that we needed to get clarification on, and so we submitted an official comment letter from KUB to the Department of Treasury and the IRS. We got a very positive response in the final regulations. They addressed our concerns and added clarification that helped us to be able to get those credits and helped others who were in the same situation. And additionally, we've been able to work with the state to create a case study just to leverage the experience that we had and what we've learned through this process to try to create something to help others to be able to get these tax credits in the future. So now I do get the privilege of making an announcement here with the $530,000 of elective pay tax credits that we have received. We have decided to invest it back into community solar. So as of January 2025, this month, and it'll show up on the February bill, the subscribers to community solar will have their share costs lowered from $5 a month to $3.50 a month. So we're going to reinvest that funding back into the program. So looking ahead, we do have more work to do just to execute the funding that we've already secured. Several projects that I've already mentioned up and running. We're proud that we've proven so far to be a really good partner with these grant programs in terms of our compliance, keeping everything up, and being able to actually get the reimbursements. That's not always a given. The programs, they want to be able to give the money out. They're not always able to. But we're proving to be a good partner. We've already received over 3/4 of that $40 million on the MBW filters and fiber grants. We've already received more than 3/4 of that. And the Granger County project has already been closed out and was the first one statewide in that program to be closed out. And then going forward, we're just going to continue to leverage what we've learned. We know a lot more today than we did when we started this. And we actually just got a whole lot smarter as well because we hired Crystal Ivy as our new government relations manager. And she has direct experience managing grant programs at both the state and federal level. So she'll be able to bring an expertise with grant strategy, something that we haven't had before. We're looking forward to having her lead our team. And we're going to continue to stay informed. We know a couple of the projects that we know and like probably will have additional future rounds. So we're looking for those. And we hope to be able to bring you more good news soon.
Commissioners, I'd just like to say a couple of words. I know Matt has led this effort. There's been several members of senior staff and other members across the organization as part of this team, but Matt's done an incredible job coordinating all this and keeping us all on track. And in particular, related to the elective pay credit, that was a new thing for municipalities. And Matt, in addition to his many other talents, is our resident tax expert. And that can be very, very complicated. So he really led the charge and led the effort. And he talked about, working with APPA and really setting a model for others to follow. And I know when you look at that compared to some of the other grants, just from a dollar perspective, the $530,000, but it's still important. It does allow us to lower the price of community solar, and it's simply no way that happens without Matt's diligent work on that. So I just want to express staff's appreciation for all he's done on that. He's still going to be involved. Crystal's going to take over really the running of the effort, but Matt will still be part of the team because we always need his tax expertise on that and other matters. So I just wanted to make that point.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Matt and the team. A lot of creative work, kind of winding your way through a lot of unknown in this grant process, and the money coming in certainly will benefit our community, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, one thing real quick before then I'll turn it back over to you, Chair. In your packets also, you have a awards brochure. I mentioned these awards a couple months ago, so I'm not going to do it again, but we received 2 awards from AMWA, the American Metropolitan Water Agencies, and so they have a little profile, a little write-up about what we've done and been doing. You all are aware of this, but I wanted to show you the final product of those awards. So only utility in the country to get 2 awards this year. So I'm pretty proud of that. So it's all your all's leadership and letting us do these things that make us such a good utility. And I want to say thank you for all your support and backing throughout these programs. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Gabe. Are there any members of the public who wish to address the board today? Sharon Wade? Present. Yes, you can come forward. You have 5 minutes to make your comments. There will be a timer up front that you'll see there, but you can stand at the podium and feel free to address the board.
Madam Chairperson, members of the board, guests, good afternoon. My name is Sharon Wade, and I have lived at my home for over 50+ years. Now, I know I don't look like it, but I have, okay? I'm 76, guys, so just relax. My concern today is one thing that I need to get clarification on, and I need your help. My power outages in my residence and on my street and my neighborhood has gotten out of hand. That's just a polite way of saying it's time to do something about it, okay? And I need you guys to be aware of what's going on. I don't want to reflect on the past, but I really would like to start with Christmas. I'm flying home from Texas, and I get a text message on my phone. I'm in the air. My neighbor is calling to inquire if I had electricity. Okay? This happens all the time. My power is off more than it's on. It'll go off in the middle of the day on a sunny day for no reason at all. I know to prepare my day based on the weather, what's going to happen in my neighborhood when there's a windstorm, a rainstorm, regardless. It's going to affect me. And I need some help. I need to know what you guys can do to alleviate that situation in my neighborhood. I have to schedule my meals. I have to get up early to fix breakfast because I know if the storm's coming, it's going to get me. So I'd like to eat, and I would like to know what we can do together to alleviate the situation. I don't know if you've been involved in the same scenario or not, but we need to do something about it. And I want you as board members to be aware of what's going on so we can work together as a team. Okay? 2 minutes, good. I know when the storm is gonna hit. I know what's gonna happen. My transformer makes a loud pop sound. When that happens, I know my electricity just went off. And if you guys don't understand or have been involved, when the electricity goes off, it affects everything, all of my appliances, my lights, everything. So we need to have a new power grid, or we need to have something done, because what's been happening, it's not working. And it's just simple as this. My electricity went out 3 times in one day last week on January the 6th. One day, 3 times, off and on, off and on. And you guys want to know what's going on? I want to know what's going on, because when you call and report that you have no power, they want to know, do you have any idea of why your power is out? Well, no, I don't know. You should know. And it takes hours. And my power is the last to come back on. The last report we had on the 6th, there were 900 customers without electricity. 900. When you call and get an update on how long you're going to be without power, it's generally the next day. I don't think that's normal at all. KUB, board members, we can do better. And I expect to see some improvement, because this, like I said, I've been in my home over 50 years, and it's not getting any better, it's getting worse. And I'd like to hear some responses. I'd like to know what you plan to do as a board. And I expect to see something happen that's going to help me as a customer, okay?
Ms. Wade, thank you. You're at time. Thank you for bringing your concerns to our attention. Certainly providing reliable power is important to this board, and I know to the management team. So Gabe?
Yeah, I thank you, Ms. Wade, for making us aware. We are aware that it's not good. I'll be honest with you. We're going to work on it. I've already assigned some of my senior folks to get working on this and get back with you pretty quickly on some things we got to do to improve the grid, the outages out there. We do have a community meeting actually set up for the whole community is seeing that too. You're right. It's not just you, it's everybody.
Yeah.
And so we have a community meeting set up with things we want to do to improve. We've got to get that reliability up. And so I hear you loud and clear, and want to let you know that we'll be getting back with you as soon as we get some plans and some designs and some numbers to you, so we can make sure we get this reliability up. So I really hear you loud and clear, and I appreciate you a lot.
And thank you for your honesty. And when can I expect a timeline on your decisions? Or your...
Like, so we had the community meeting scheduled for the 29th, which is in less than 2 weeks, or at 2 weeks. So we'll have some information before that meeting, obviously. So we'll get back with you pretty soon to talk about that. So we'll meet with you individually and talk
Well,
about that.
I look forward to that.
And you hold me to that.
What is your name?
Gabriel Bolas, Bolas. So please keep, I'll make sure you have my information, and we'll make sure we stay in contact. So
I would appreciate
I
it.
appreciate you coming down here, and sorry to hear that, and we'll get on it as soon as we can.
Thank you, Ms. Wade.
Thank you
for coming down
Thank
today.
you for your time.
Is there anyone else in the public who would like to address the board? All right. Following the adjournment of this meeting, the board will have a lunch session that is open for the public to observe. This meeting is adjourned.